Hey guys, welcome to part B. For this one I'm going to go over the answers, and if you got any of them wrong, I really recommend you stop, watch it, and just get the hang of tenths and hundredths. So in the very first picture, there are actually two equivalent equations that match the picture, the third and the fourth one. In the next one, there's only one expression that has a sum of 57 hundredths, and it's the first one. On the back, all three of those expressions have a sum of 45 hundredths. And on the last question, the sum of those two fractions is 67 hundredths, and your secret word is a secret emoji, and it's the face some of you make when I don't shout you out. Sorry. Alright, so let's go over anything that might have been confusing. Alright, so which equation matches the grid? Let's take a look at each one and eliminate the ones that don't make sense. So in this first one, we have 6 hundredths plus 6 hundredths equals 12 hundredths. That's true. 6 hundredths and 6 hundredths does make 12 hundredths. But if I look over at this picture, there are way more than 12 little squares shaded in. Just in this first column, that's 10. This is 12. We have way more than that. So because of that answer of 12 hundredths, I know that this doesn't match the grid. The second one says 6 tenths plus 6 hundredths equals 12 hundredths. Well, let's look at that. First, this does match the picture because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths because we have 6 of those long rectangles. And then we also have 6 hundredths because we have 6 of the little squares. But again, there's something wrong with the total because again, the total says 12 hundredths. But it's pretty easy to see how someone might make that mistake. They might think, oh, 6 and 6 is 12, and then that matches the picture, so we must be good. But there's way more than 12 hundredths here. For the next one, we have 6 tenths plus 6 hundredths equals 66 hundredths. And this is the first one that's correct. 6 tenths, again, we just looked at why this is the same as 6 tenths, plus 6 hundredths, we just looked at that, that's 6 hundredths, and that's the same as 66 hundredths. And to kind of make sense of that, over here we have 6 tenths, but 6 tenths is the same as 60 hundredths. For tons of reasons, a quick check would be this. But another one is because there are 10 hundredths for every tenth. So if we have 6 tenths, we're going to have 60 hundredths. If you add 6 in red to the 60 in purple, you end up getting 66 hundredths. The last one's also correct. And you can see it's almost like they did a step for us in the last one. They took the 6 tenths from here and they just rewrote it as the equivalent expression or fraction 60 hundredths over here. So the third and the fourth one were correct, and I'm curious to see how you would explain it. Alright, let's look at this next one, and just to kind of change it up, I'm going to think about it in terms of dimes and pennies. So it says, which of the following expressions, and remember these are expressions because they're just lines of math with no equal sign, which of the following expressions has a sum, or adds up to, 57 hundredths? Let's take a look at the very first one. The first one says we have 2 tenths, which I know is the same as 2 dimes, and then we add 37 hundredths, which is the same as 37 pennies. So if 2 dimes is kind of the same as 20 cents, and then 20 cents plus 37 cents would be 57 cents or 57 hundredths. And you could have taken this first one and just said, well, 2 dimes, that's the same as 20 pennies, or 2 tenths is the same as 20 hundredths, and that would add up to 57 hundredths. So already I found one that works, but let's see if any more do. Alright, so in the second problem, it starts off with 27 tenths. And right there, a flag should have gone off in your head, and you should have been like, wait, 27 tenths? That's way more than a whole. 27 tenths is the same as 2 wholes and 7 tenths. So there's no way that if you add that to 30 hundredths, you're going to get a fraction that's less than 1 like that. So already this one's wrong. Even though 27 and 30 make 57, they're not both hundredths. Those tenths mess everything up. Alright, the next one. Alright, with the decimal problems that we've been doing this past week, a lot of people probably, circling this is confusing, a lot of people probably thought that this one was correct, but there's problems with it as well. So, 2 tenths, alright, so that's the same as 2 dimes, so that's like 20 cents, but 55 tenths? That's way more than a whole. That's 5 wholes and some extra. So, again, that one doesn't make too much sense. And then this very last one says 51 hundredths plus 6 tenths. And just to connect it to what we've been doing, with decimals, it would look like this. And I know at least half of you at one point thought that this was true, that this 51 hundredths plus 6 tenths equaled that, because it looks like it does. It looks like it's just 51 plus 6 equals 57. But this isn't true, because that 6 tenths, this is the same as 6 dimes, and 6 dimes is the same as 60 cents. And if you wanted to kind of keep it the way that this problem's talking about it, that's like saying 60 hundredths. If you added those together, you'd get 111 hundredths, which does not equal what we want. So, conclusion, this is the only one that works. I'd love to hear how you would explain that. Alright, same type of question. Which expressions have a sum of 45 hundredths? Well, let's check them out. This first one starts off with 4 tenths. I know that 4 tenths is like 4 dimes, which is the same as 40 hundredths. And then 40 hundredths plus 5 hundredths equals 45 hundredths. So looks like that first expression does have a sum of 45 hundredths. If I check out the next one, something kind of cool is happening here. So I have 2 tenths. Again, that's like 2 dimes, or 20 hundredths, plus 20 hundredths plus 5 tenths. It's sort of like this first expression got expanded into this one, because now we have 20 and 20 making 40 hundredths, and then we still have that plus 5 hundredths. So this is going to equal the same thing. It's going to equal 45 hundredths. And then, in the very last one, they've basically done what I just did for us. So 20 hundredths and 20 hundredths and 5 hundredths makes 45 hundredths. So this one was kind of a trick question, because every single one is equivalent. Again, let me know how you're thinking about it. Alright, last one. Use the grid on the right to determine 5 tenths plus 17 hundredths. I'm going to start off with 5 tenths, and I remember that each of these long rectangles is the same as a tenth. So that's 3, 4, that's 5 tenths. But again, 5 tenths is like 5 dimes, which is the same as 50 cents, or 50 hundredths. So, and right now, that all of these little squares, I currently have 50 of them circled. And now I'm going to add 17 hundredths. And to show that on the picture, I can start by circling 10 hundredths. And then to get to 17, I'm going to need to do 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. In total, how many do I have? Well, we have 50 here, and then another 17 here. That's a total of 67 hundredths. So hopefully that made sense. Again, your secret word is a secret emoji, and do your best to draw this picture, which is probably the easiest one to draw. See you for part C.